Welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Alicia Menendez. We're joined today by Peg Hacskaylo. She is the Executive Director of the District Alliance for Safe Housing, also known as DASH. Peg, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So why did you start DASH? What was the idea?
I founded DASH in 2006 to address the urgent need for additional safe housing for victims of domestic and sexual violence here in the district. And for years, there had only been a total of 48 beds for women and children escaping domestic violence. So when we started our programs, we managed to, in 3 years' time, triple the amount of safe housing available to women and children escaping abuse.
That's huge. And part of what makes DASH so great is that you have very low barrier access.
Exactly. Our interest was really to ensure access to all survivors of domestic and sexual violence in the city. And so we wanted to ensure that women who especially couldn't access shelter otherwise because they might have mental illness or substance abuse issues or disabilities or, say, other kinds of family configurations that might prevent them from accessing safe housing, that wasn't going to pose a barrier to them getting into our programs.
And so what do you say to someone who says, I understand why this is important, clearly we want victims of domestic housing to have shelter and housing, but I'm concerned about having a lot of women in one space, some of whom may have substance abuse issues. How do you deal with some of the complicated elements
Well,
here?
the really unique thing about DASH and the way our housing is set up is that we have apartment-style housing. And so what that allows us to do is to provide a certain element of privacy for every family that we accept into our building so that they can have their own unit and we're not having to mitigate the circumstances of a lot of families with a lot of different needs living under the same roof.
And now you have something big, the opening of the Cornerstone building.
Yes, so we opened our Cornerstone facility, which is really our flagship facility. On November 2nd, we started accepting families, and that's a 43-unit apartment building for women and children. So it's really now the largest safe housing facility for victims in the city.
That's fantastic. And how do women find you, or do you find them?
Typically, women are referred to us through the courts or through other service providers, particularly women who are accessing the criminal justice system to get protection orders or who have law enforcement orders. If they are in need of housing, they'll be referred to us, and then we'll bring them into our programs.
And is this meant to serve as a transitional solution, or is this a more long-term?
Well, it's emergency and transitional. So we accept women in crisis, when they have just come out of an abusive situation, but then we can keep them in our programs for up to 2 years, which is technically considered transitional housing.
So you do have a deadline?
We do, but obviously we wouldn't put women out on the streets if we didn't have a place for them to go after those 2 years.
And now, is this largely run by volunteers, by professional staff?
By professional staff, and we have a certified addictions counselor and a licensed clinical social worker, and then we partner with a lot of other organizations in the city to help us provide all of the various services that our residents might need while they're living in our facility.
And so you do fantastic work, but that needs to be funded through a lot of efforts on your part, I'm sure. Now, you have a big luncheon coming up.
Yes, that's right. On March 1st, we're having our Allies in Change Awards luncheon. This is going to be our first annual luncheon, and it's really designed to recognize the people who have been our allies in ensuring that women, don't become homeless when they're escaping domestic and sexual violence. So we'll be recognizing 7 people in the community who have really gone above and beyond the call to ensure that every home is a safe home for women.
And so what does it mean for you when you see someone who's been helped by DASH?
It means that women have the ability to set their own course and establish independent lives on their own terms. And I think that's a really important thing.
And so very quickly, if someone's at home and they want to become involved with DASH, how can they go about that?
They can contact us at our main number, which is 202-462-3274.
I'm impressed that you remember that.
Thank you.
I got to cut you off there, though, so hopefully people will call.
Or go to our website.
Okay. If you want to learn more about what's going on in your community, you can go to Comcast On Demand and click Get Local. For Comcast Newsmakers, I'm Alicia Menendez.